Hello, welcome to R.K Medicos. In this section, we are going to discuss about the neuroanatomy. And neuroanatomy, we are going to discuss about the spinal cord basically. In a spinal cord, the spinal cord is having several segments. They are divided into several parts. There are basically 31 segments in the spinal cord, and they are divided like this. We can see here, they are consist of 31 segments, 8 cervical, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, 5 sacral, and the 1 coccygeal. These are the segments of a spinal cord which is present in our spinal canal, and this is the length of a spinal cord are shorter than the vertebral column. Now vertebral column is basically they are made up of bones, that are vertebrae. So inside the vertebral column there is a spinal cords are hanging down. So suppose that this is our vertebral, inside the vertebral column this is our spinal cord, and this is hanging down like this. Suppose that the structure, this one is vertebral column, suppose that this one is vertebral column, and the hanging down this structure is called as a spinal cord. So the spinal cord is shorter. The spinal cord is what? It is shorter than the spinal cord is shorter than something, that one is vertebral column. Vertebral column is more longer. It is made up of vertebrae basically. So inside the vertebral column, the spinal cords are hanging down, and the hanging down is in the several segments, that is 31 segments are present inside it, and they are divided into several parts. Now we are going to see in this picture how this these segments are located. We can see. So you can imagine now, in this one is, these all are the vertebrae. What is the represented in red here? These all are the vertebrae. These are the bones, vertebrae, the vertebral bodies. These are the spinous processes. So these are the vertebrae here, and inside the vertebral column the spinal cords are hanging down. The structure of vertebrae. This one is the body of vertebra, and here is the pedicel, a spinous process, and the transverse processes. So inside this vertebral foramen or the vertebral foramen, these spinal cords are present. So we are going to see these are the spinal cords here. In the cervical region, there is cervical segments. They are C1 to C8 basically. They are the C8 segments. These all are in cervical segments. Next we can see the orange color is representing a thoracic section, that is thoracic segments. And next one we can see here the yellow one. We can see here, that is the yellow one. These are representing the lumbar segments. Next the green one, the little one, is the sacral segments, and later on these sacral segments are in the wave-like appearance, like the horse tail-like appearance. These are the moving down in the whole spinal canal, and these are called as chorda equina. We can see they are the equina. It means what? Equina means chorda means. Chorda equina means the horse tail-like appearance, and at the terminal of the appearance is called as phylum terminalis, or the terminal phylum is the terminal end of the spinal cord, at which what the fibers are located in that region, that is the coccyx. We can see the chorda equina is the tail of the horseshoe. In this all the region we can see here, these all are looking like horse tail from here to here. These all are looking like horse tail. That's what they are called as chorda equina. So basically we can see the spinal cord segments are end up to level of, we can see here, after this level the spinal cord is not present, only the fibers are moving down in the vertebral column. So these segments are end up to L1 vertebrae. They are starting from the C1 and ending up to L1. In the adult, in any adult person, these spinal segments are moving in the vertebral canal or the vertebral foramen till the L1 vertebrae only, and after that their fibers are moving down in the chorda equina manner, in the horse tail like manner. These fibers are moving down and they exist out from the spinal canal. So these are the different views of the spinal cords and different parts. Now we are moving towards the white matter. Is what? White matter is basically the collection of, it is the collection of axon in the central nervous system. These are the basically axon part of our neuron. This part is representing here, that is the axon, and their collection like this. These all are collected together, and this is called as the white matter here. So the collection of axons in the central nervous system is the white matter, and they are divided into three parts basically: short fibers, long and the ascending, and the long and the descending. Now you know the short fibers are the dendrites. Suppose that these are the neurons. Here the dendrites are present as small fibers. The long fibers are the fibers which moving upward, either moving upward in the spinal cord, and either some fibers moving downward in the spinal cord. What the fiber moving up in the spinal cord, that one is called as ascending, or the long fibers, or this ascending is also called as afferent fibers, also called as the sensory. They carry sensory information, that's why they are called as sensory fibers. These all are moving in the spinal cord basically. What the fibers carry impulses from the central nervous system, basically from the brain, somatomotor cortex area, and moving down, that one is called as efferent or motor, or they are going down, that's why they are called as descending. And these are also the long fibers. So these are the four names, or we can identify by this. Next one, these nerve fibers are grouped into the anterior, posterior, and two lateral sides in the spinal cord. Suppose that this is the spinal cord, and we are going to divide these parts. Here is the lateral, here the central canal, so it is the central part. They are divided into, suppose that this is the right half and this is the left half of the spinal cord. Now you tell me, where is the anterior? Here is the anterior part, here is the posterior part, A and P, anterior posterior. In the posterior part, there is a posterior, what part is going on? In the posterior sides, there is ascending fibers, which means these fibers are entering, and anterior part, the fibers are exit out. It means these fibers are descending. These fibers are descending fibers, and these fibers are ascending fibers. Fibers means the same, they are the axons of the neuron. So ascending fibers, it means they are the sensory, and descending means they are the motor. The motor is exiting out from the spinal cord and sensory is entering. So this is the important here. Three groups of the nerve fibers are located. Next one, we are going to see simple reflex. How the reflex is going to generate in our body, we can see. Suppose that there are five main components of the any reflex generation. You can see in this picture. Suppose that there is any part of our body, we can see there is an effector part. Suppose that the sensory impulses from the here, they are moving inside the spinal cord. I already told you what is it, that is sensory fiber. These sensory fiber, ascending fibers moving inside the what, that is spinal cord, and then the sending impulses to the interneuron. Interneuron is the basically neuron which is connecting. Inter means connecting the two parts, and these interneurons are basically present in our spinal cord. So they are going to connect the sensory impulses and the motor impulses. These are connecting with the help of a special type of neuron, and that neuron is called as the, this white neuron is called as the interneuron. It is connecting the both. It is connecting the both motor and sensory, or ascending and descending fibers. We can see next point here. What happened after that? These motor fibers will be exit out, and they're going to the effector part of the, or the effector any part of our body, because in the effector muscles, either muscles or either any gland will be damaged there. These impulses will be coming out from the spine. The short reflexes will be generated from the spinal cord level, and when the higher reflexes or the higher activity, higher coordination is done by the central nervous system, it means basically only for the brain. The spinal cord is also part of the central nervous system, but the spinal cord is controlling the only small reflexes. For the long activities or the severe activities, only they are controlled by the brain. So what are the main criteria for their division? The first is receptor, and where the receptors are located, in the skin. So these impulses are carried from the skin and they're moving down, they're moving through the hand and arms, and then in the shoulder region they're going to the spinal cord. So they are the afferent fibers or the ascending fibers. They are moving into the spinal cord, and they are connected with interneurons, which is connecting the ascending to the descending. And what is the descending? The interneuron is also called as the connecting neurons. That is the efferent fibers is also called as the motor. That is the motor fibers, and the afferent one is also called as the sensory. So sensory one is entering, interneuron is connecting, and they're transferring the impulses to the motor neuron, and the motor neuron is going to the effector part or the effector muscles. So this is the scenario how they are moving. Now I'll show you. You can see here from the sensory part they are moving inside the spinal cord. That is all first. Next here interneuron. That is the third one. The receptor is first one. This is the second one, afferent neuron. After that, these fibers are moving outside. That is fourth one, and they are coming into the effector part. That is fifth one. So this is so simple. In next section, we are going to see about the types of receptor. What are the different types of receptors we have to know here? We can see there are three types of receptor basically. Proper receptors, already told you, they're located in the joints, muscles, joints, ligaments, bones, or the labyrinthus of inner ear. Important here, they are located in this area. These are the proper receptors. They are located basically in the joints or the joint capsule region, or in the bone, muscles, ligament. In this type of region they are located. The proper receptors. Proper means again they are related with the joints. We can see exterior receptors. They are situated, these receptors are externally in our body in the somatic parts, and they are located externally basically in the skin, in the external environments, senses the information from the external environment of our body and then going to the body. Next we can say anterior receptors. They are collecting information from the internal part of our body. They are also called as visceroreceptors. So they also carry information from the visceral part of our body. So that's why they are called as visceroreceptors. These receptors are present in the internal organs basically. And what are the receptors situated? They are the osmoreceptors, they are the chemoreceptors, they are the baroreceptors. The receptors for the pressure, the receptors for the chemicals, and receptors for the osmoregulatory functions. So these are the different types of receptors which are located in our body, and these are related to the spinal cord. So now we are going to further move. What are the parts of the spinal cord, how the spinal cord is formed, what are the different parts which covering the spinal cord. So we are going to see. So we can see in this section about the spinal cord. Now I told you, a spinal cord, they extends from what level? I already told you, it is extending from the C1 to L1 level of the lower border in the adults, and the same it happen in the child. They are lowering from the C1 to L3 level. It means in the child the spinal cord will be longer. It means the vertebral column will be more shorter. Yeah, it's happened because in the child, as the growth is happening, as the child is growing very fast, the spinal cord length will be going very shorter according to the length is increasing. So it means in the adult at the level of 2 years of age, it means if any child is less than 2 years, it means at the what level the spinal cord is present in the any child, at the level of L3. From C1 to L3 level of the vertebra, these spinal cord levels are situated. But in the adult person, they are situated up to the level of L1. Now we are going to see what is the conus medullaris. They are the lower end of the spinal cord. The lower end of a spinal cord is called as conus medullaris. They are looking like a cone. I can told you like this appearance. That one is called as conus medullaris. And after that, phylum terminalis. Phylum terminalis is the modification of pia mater, which is below the L1. We are going to see in the below picture, and it is the first vertebra of the phylum terminalis is basically at the level of first C1. We can say the coccygeal or the C0. We can see like this C0 1 vertebra level. The phylum terminalis are located. So before we are going to discuss in detail, you can see this picture here. And this picture is very important. We can see here is the spinal cord. You can see here is the spinal cord, and I already told you at the borderline of the spinal cord you can see this is the conus medullaris. Conus medullaris is the terminal part of the spinal cord. This is the terminal part here. You can see, or you can imagine, this is the terminal part here. So this is the terminal part of the spinal cord, that is conus medullaris. Now you imagine the spinal cord is covered with the membranes, or they are also called as meninges. So these spinal cords are covered with basically 3 meninges. We are moving from the inside to outside. Inside to outside, when we are going to see, the inner one is the pia mater, then just outside it, that is arachnoid, and just outside it, that is the dura mater. So these are the sequence of the meninges. It means these are the membranes which covering the spinal cord. And what are these membranes? That is the basically 3. There is a 3 membranes which is going to cover the spinal cord from inside to outside. The first inner layer is pia mater, just after it arachnoid, and just outer to it, that is the dura mater. And after the dura mater there is a bones are present. And which bone is it? That is vertebral bones, and their vertebral canals are surrounding them, and inside these all spinal cord structures are present. So now you are going to find the space. Now you can imagine, suppose that this is the spinal cord. The first layer which is surrounding it is the pia mater, and after the pia mater and arachnoid, second layer is arachnoid, third layer is dura mater, and fourth one is the bone. Between the bone and dura mater, the space is present, that is called as epidural space. What? The space which is present in between the outer layer of the meninges, that is dura mater, and the bone, that is vertebral. Basically they are called as epidural, means the outside dura, that is epidural space. Next we are going to see, that is the innermost layer is the pia mater. Of course, between the pia mater and second layer, that is arachnoid, the space is present, that is called as subarachnoidal space, because it is present below the arachnoid. That's why they are subarachnoidal. Sub means below, the subarachnoidal space. Once again, it means there is some space is also present just below the dura mater, that is called as subdural space. Yeah, it is true. The space present outside the dura mater, epidural. The space present below the dura mater, that is subdural space. The space present just below the arachnoid, that is subarachnoidal space. And last one is pia mater, is closely attached with the spinal cord. So these are the sequence of meninges, and these are the coverings of the spinal cord. So you have to know by heart what are the coverings of the spinal cord. They are the meninges, basically 3. DAP, that is DAP is the trachea, that is from outer to inner. DAP, dura mater, arachnoid, pia mater. Between the outside the dura mater, epidura, inside it subdura, and then pia mater, then arachnoid, and then pia mater. So now you tell me, what is the green one is here? This green one is the closely attached to the what? Spinal cord. That's why they are called as pia mater. And after that, second one layer. Now you can tell me the black one, what is this? This layer is arachnoid. And what is the outermost layer? Now you can tell me the red one. The red one is, what is it? This one is dura mater. So here this is the dura mater, this is the arachnoid, and this is the pia mater. These are the 3 layers. Now you tell me, outside the dura mater, which space is it? Epidural. Just below the dura mater there is the here is the subdural, and between the arachnoid and pia mater, this space is called as subarachnoidal space. It is true, and it is, hope you understand this. If you not understand, I will try to show you everything. Wait a minute. So we can see in this picture, here is the vertebrae or the periosteum, it means bone. They are the covering of bone. Now you can tell me the bone covering is, you can see the bone covering, periosteum, and it is basically the red one is outermost layer here, that is the red one, that is what, D, that is dura mater. And outside the dura mater and bone, which space is present? Epidural space. We can see here epidural space, and it is containing something. The epidural space is containing, what is it, a structure? They containing fat, they containing venous plexus, it means the venous blood vessels or the venous blood contents they are carrying. So what are the contents of the epidural space? That is basically fat tissues, and they are the venous plexus is the content of the epidural space that is present outside the dura mater and the vertebral periosteum between them. Next one we are going to say this outside the dura mater and the arachnoid. Between them there is a subdural space is present here, the second one. And the second one is the subdural space. In the subdural space, what is the structure they containing? Next one we can see the subarachnoidal space, that is the third one, which is present in between the, we can see that is the arachnoid and pyometer, AP, that is arachnoid and pyometer, that is the subarachnoidal space. They containing the basically CSF. This all is the CSF, we can see here, this is the CSF. So it is contained inside the subarachnoidal space. Now one more thing we have to learn from here. In the brain, the dura mater layer is basically doubled. So there is a bilayered dura mater in the brain, and the unilayered, we can say the only one layer of dura mater is present in our spinal cord. It is the important point here. Now we can see, I am going to conclude here, the dura mater is single layer in the spinal cord. Here is the spinal cord. Inside the innermost layer you can see the pyometer contains blood vessels. That's why they are forming the choroid plexus, and later on they are going to supply the blood to the spinal cord. And the subarachnoidal space is containing the CSF fluid, and the conus medullaris is the terminal end of the spinal cord. I already told you the arachnoid membrane is the arachnoid layer. It is the avascular layer. It is the important point here. The arachnoid layer is avascular layer. And next, phylum terminalis. I already told you the phylum terminalis, it is the modified part of the dura mater. You can see the green one, it is the pyometer, and this pyometer is concluded here P, and this pyometer is forming something. That one is phylum terminalis. It means the phylum terminalis is the modification of what? It is the modification of the pyometer. It is the modification of the pyometer, the modification of the meninges of a spinal cord, and it forming the phylum terminalis. Now you can see here the cranial dura mater. The cranial dura mater is doubled. Already told you it is the double, but the spinal cord is having only single layer of dura mater, and the spinal cord is having two enlargements basically. What is the enlargement? You know, this type of arrangement of the spinal cord is here, that is the in the S-shaped, and there are two enlargements. One is the cervical and one is the lumbar. So there are two enlargements, the enlargements in this manner. So these enlargements are called as the two enlargements of the spinal cord, basically the cervical and lumbar enlargements. Enlargements is basically the moving outwards. The outward appearance of the spinal cord in two regions. The cervical enlargement is basically in the C3 to T2 level. It means in the cervical C2 to T3 level of the thoracic vertebrae. This spinal cord is moving in this way, and they are bulging outside. That was called as cervical enlargement. And this enlargement from the spinal cord is giving rise to a group of electric wires. They are giving a group of nerves from this enlargement, that is the lumbar enlargement, that is cervical enlargement, that is called as the brachial plexus basically. And brachial means they are the upper limbs, they are denoted with the hand or the arms or basically the arms. So these all electric wires which are originating from the C3 to T2 level, that is the cervical enlargement, they are going to innervate our hand. they're going to innervate our arms, they're going to innervate our forearms, so they're supplied to the all upper limbs. So these electric wires are coming from the C3 to T2 level. Next one enlargement is the lumbar enlargement here, and lumbar enlargement is present at the level of a spinal cord, that is L1 to S3. It means they're present in the L1 vertebrae to the S3 vertebrae, and they are going to given from here, that is the lumbar plexus. And this lumbar plexus means again from the lumbar region of our body there is some fibers, some electrical wires are going to originate, and these electrical wires are going to they are going to innervate the different parts of our body, in the thigh region, in the groin region, in the pelvic region. So these all are region are going to innervate in the different parts of this body, are going to affected if there is any damage in the lumbar enlargement. We discuss it later, but for now, where the maximum enlargement of the spinal cord is appear, it means the spinal cord is present throughout the C1 to L1 level in the adult, but where the maximum enlargement is appear, the maximum enlargement of the spinal cord is appear at the level of C6. It means in which level? It means in the cervical enlargement at the level of C6 vertebrae. C6 cervical vertebrae, there is a maximum enlargement of the spinal cord is appear. And what is the length, what is the diameter of it, that is the enlargement is 38 millimeter. Now we are going to see what is the ligamentum denticulatum. Ligamentum denticulatum is basically tooth-like projection. It is the tooth-like projection on either side of the spinal cord. What the spinal cord we discussed until now, there's a tooth-like structure is appear from here. We discuss. I can show you picture, but for now you can memorize the. It is the tooth-like appearance from the spinal cord, that is ligamentum denticulatum, and they are having 21 projections are seen on the each side of the spinal cord. Suppose that this is the spinal cord, on the either side, this side and this side, both the sides, there is a this side and this side, both the sides there is a 21 this side, 21 this side. It means there are 42 in number. So there are the 42 projections of the spinal cord is appear here, and we can see it directly attached to the dura. It is attached to the dura mater. Dura mater is the outermost layer of the spinal cord. So now you can tell me, so they are attached to the dura mater, it means they are closely attaching to it. It means they are outside part of the spinal cord. They are not going to attach to it. So next we can see there is it is an important, they are present in the dorsal and ventral root also. It is presenting in the dorsal part or the ventral part of the spinal cord. We can see here, wait for a minute, it is a landmark during the neurosurgery. It is very important when the any patient is going for the surgery, in the case of any trauma or the maybe the patient suffer from the some disease, we have to operate it, or we have to going to operate the patient. So you can look on this picture, this patient maybe suffer from the, we can see here, this is the dura mater, and this is the arachnoid, and this is the pia mater, and pia mater is the innermost layer, and after that the spinal cord is directly appear. So here we can see this layer is present outside the arachnoid, this is the outside the pia mater. I already told you the ligamentum denticulatum is the structure. We can see ligamentum denticulatum is a tooth-like a structure which is appeared attached to the dura mater. We can see it is attached to the dura mater. These are the ligamentum denticulatum. These are attached to the dura mater. So these are landmark for the surgery. Now you can see here in this picture, we can see here is the dorsal ramus or the ventral ramus. Ramus means basically root, and here also ramus means root, we can see. So what is the dorsal ramus? The dorsal ramus is carrying what information? Sensory. And the ventral ramus is leaving the exit out from here, that is the motor information. Motor, here sensory, or we can see the information is going in and here out. And here we can see the ligamentum denticulatum. It is the landmark point here. We can see here is the ligamentum denticulatum. It is present in the between the ventral root and dorsal root. We can see this side is the dorsal root, dorsal, and here is the ventral. So it is present in between both of them, the dorsal and ventral. So we have to understand it, where it is located, the dorsal and ventral roots, and where the ligamentum denticulatum is it. So for now we are going to see The next point, pyometer modification. Pyometer modification, already told you, two structures. One is ligamentum denticulatum is also the pyometer modification, and the phylum terminalis, you can memorize from the spinal cord, that is the phylum terminalis is also the modification of the both the sides of the meninges, that is pyometer is coming, and at the conus medullaris just below it, these pyometer are going to attach together and they forming the phylum terminalis. And the ligamentum denticulatum